Welcome back to Safas Unscripted. We got Brett Burns and Casual Bias. No Brevan today. The guy's feeling a bit under the weather at the moment, so it's just the two of us. And today is kind of a fun episode. We're going to talk about some rules that we don't like in the game of rugby, or some rules that we want implemented in the game of rugby. So this is a fun one. Please remember to like and subscribe. Be interactive in the comment sections. We adore each and every one of you guys, and we want to hear your input. Brett, we're jumping straight into it. This is one that I've seen a million times, and it's kind of a subtle one, but I want to start with it. I want to get rid. I know you could say it's animal endangerment, but I want to get rid of the caterpillar. Every single ruck with a box kick with 20 guys lining up, and that ball just goes straight through, and it's still legal. It's still part of the ruck because these guys are just binded behind each other. I hate it. Even if we do it, it's annoying.
I completely agree with you. I didn't think you would start off with such a juicy one, but I do agree with you. I remember the days when Hooghart used to play for the Bulls. I think that's when the actual caterpillar started, when the Bulls would have 3-4 guys behind because Hooghart's kicks used to get charged down. And then all of a sudden it became a world phenomenon. So, I think that's a good rule that I'd also like to get rid of. Also, to add to that, on that ruck thing, I want to get rid of when a ref says, use it. Don't wait for 20 minutes before he actually has to use it. When you say use it, he has to use it
immediately, yeah.
Yes, because then he says use it, and then he says, use it. 9, use it. Like, how many times are you going to tell him?
Exactly. Have you ever seen the ref call use it and then blow the whistle against the 9 for not using it? Because have you ever seen the ref call for the 9 to use it, and then the 9 gets blown for taking too long, for time wasting? It is ridiculous.
I have, when that rule just got implemented.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they have to be more strict on it as well. And talking about the 9s getting blown, I want to see some scrums, when back in the old days where the 9s actually threw the ball in straight and not under their own hooker's feet, because it's ridiculous what we are seeing. Like, it almost feels like you never see a scrum penalty awarded for the team that doesn't have the ball, because the ball just gets thrown straight back under the 8's foot almost, and then he just takes it out. And we are guilty of it ourselves. Every single team is. But you want a competitive scrum.
I watched a clip this weekend, actually, where the thing said every rugby supporter wants to see this rule, where the ref actually, somebody put it in skew, and the ref awarded a free kick to the opposing team. And I agree with that. That is 100% what I want to see. If it's not, don't be favoritism and say, it's not such a big deal, and I didn't blow it because it wasn't going to impact the game. It 100% will impact the game. Look what the Stormers are doing now recently in scrums. They're dominating everybody, and if the ball was in straight, there'll be a whole lot more tight hits.
Yeah. The thing is, I think refs are like, we're not going to blow it because every single team does it. But that's not necessarily an excuse, because if you blew it every time they did it, they would stop doing it. You get what I mean? So obviously they'll still do it, but if you say, listen, we are changing this shit, we have to implement this rule and make it a fair contest, just blow them every time they do it. Now, of course, a while ago we saw some new rule changes came in. A couple of them I love, one specifically, the 50-22, I think has changed a bit of the game in terms of the aspect of kicking the ball. But one thing that I hate that came in is a ball that is held up and the other team gets a goal line dropout.
Oh.
I mean, it feels like it's punishment for the people going to score a try, because people are going to be desperate to get that ball over the line. It gets held up, good defense, but then you get a free dropout. Give that 5-meter scrum again. Like, what is the... What?
I agree. Even if what they could have changed there for me was they could have made it a 5-meter scrum, but to the defending team. If you're going to go so drastic, give it to the defending team, because then the attacking team is still halfway in they're still in their territory. Whereas then that guy has to kick out, and he'll probably kick it out right on the 5 or 10 meters out, and then then the attacking team again has the ball. But this goal line dropouts, I agree, it doesn't make sense to me. It's now you've gotten to meter 99, actually to meter 100. You just got held up, but now let's give it to the other team. I don't like that.
Exactly. And then let's say the defending team, if they have a kicker with a massive boot, they'll just boot it 50 meters away and you have to run it all the way back. Or if you've got a kicker with a smaller boot, they kick it and then you just see a drop goal coming from the, and it's so stupid. It's so annoying. I don't like it at all. But do you remember when we played the British and Irish Lions? There was a big fuss about. Remember after the Nick Barry thing, we had probably the longest game of rugby the next weekend. Do you remember that?
Yeah, 100 minutes. Yes.
Now, one thing that I hate when it comes to rugby is the fact that the game kind of can be slow, and I want more rugby in the time that we get in that 80 minutes. So I've got one here. The timer, like the clock, has to stop when there's a scrum or when there's a kick at goal, because kickers take so bloody long to kick, and scrums take so long to set. Just before we started the episode, you mentioned when there's a scrum 77 minutes in and there's a knock on, the game is almost done, because it's just going to be a scrum and they're going to kick that ball out, because it takes about 2 to 3 minutes for the scrum to finally set. I would love for the clock to set or to stand still a bit more so we can get more rugby in the 80 minutes. Because if you look at ball in play, everyone talks about ball in play. It is ridiculous, some of the numbers we got. Seeing 80 minutes, game of 80 minutes, and the ball's only in play for what? 23 minutes?
Yeah, the longest is 27 minutes.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, also there I agree with you, because it's an episode of me agreeing with you about everything. Can you imagine? So what I don't like about the thing that you said, but I also do agree with it, is it's going to be like American football. So the game's going to be 4 hours long because it's going to have to stop everywhere. I think that it only needs to stop at 2 places.
That's what I meant. That's what I said. Scrums and the conversion.
And the conversions. Because if it has to stop for when the ball goes out, that'll be long. That'll take too long. If it has to stop when a guy calls a free kick and then only put the timer on when the free kick is actually taken, stuff like that could take long. But then if the rule will only be implemented for only 2 decisions, which is the goal line kicks and the scrums, then you will see a lot of what Gaza did, or Damon Willemse did in the Rugby World Cup against France, and off a free kick, he'll call a scrum because he knows the time stopped.
Yeah, no, there's always ways to get around time wasting. Like, they'll always find a new way to waste some time. But the thing is, we are watching rugby. We want to watch rugby, not a kicking contest. That's why I also think the kicking timer should be made shorter, because what is the time at the moment? 90 seconds?
90 seconds, yeah. 60 seconds on a penalty and 90 seconds on a conversion.
Yeah, I still feel it's too long. I think kickers can line up their kick and go for the kick. I know Marnie Libbok finally getting his kicking boots, but that thing where he ticks it down to 90 seconds the whole time, because the timer keeps going, as we said. And let's say you have about 10 kicks in the game. That is a lot of time just on kicks. That's about 10 minutes just on kicks.
Yeah. Actually, like 60 minutes, because, I agree.
Yeah. It is absolutely ridiculous. Did you have any other rule changes or rules that you don't like that you want to bring up to the table?
Yeah. So obviously the first one was that the scrum thing was a big deal for me, because I think it was last year or the year before, Stormers were defending a scrum on the halfway line on the 76th minute, and there were 2 reset scrums, and by the time the opposing team got the ball in, finally, with not being a reset scrum, it was 80 minutes. It took 4 minutes for one scrum to take place, and the Stormers lost that game because of that. So that was my biggest concern. And then I got a different one. It's quite a weird one. I like to see a little scuffle in the lineouts. When a player has won the ball, I can't see why you shouldn't be able to go for the ball. I'm not saying tackle him in the air. I'm saying have an actual fight for the ball, because I would like that to happen, but it'll never happen because of safety concerns, obviously. But for me, I can literally grab the ball right here out of your hands. Why won't you let me?
Well, if you're allowed to jump and compete for up and under in the air, and you can rip the ball from each other in the air there, why can't you do it in the lineout? Now, I'm not saying go and bully each other, but this where they blow the whistle for infringing in the lineout, for like tapping the guy's hand or just touching him in the lineout while you're both competing for the ball and getting a penalty, that is ridiculous. That's too soft. That has to change immediately, because then you just want a clean line out the whole time. The whole thing about rugby is the fact that it's a bit messy. It's not this nice, beautiful game. It is messy, especially if you're from South Africa, where the game is just built on physicality. I heard a lot of pundits talk about safety and stuff. Listen, you play rugby. It's not a safe sport. It's a contact sport. It's what you sign up for. Okay, this isn't football or soccer, as people would say, where you just dive around, even though we're seeing a couple of people dive around, Nick White. That's why I don't like the fact that pundits are bringing up they don't want any rucking. What do you mean? Do you want to watch rugby league? Like, I've seen these pundits from the European nations, and I've seen a couple of, I think it was on the breakdown from New Zealand. I think they've mentioned it once or twice. Then that's rugby league. How are we supposed to win the ball?
Speaking of rucking, so when the Stormers played against Sale Sharks in the Champions Cup, there was a Sale Sharks player lying on the ball, and a Stormers player came in and he rucked him, and he hit his shoulder hit the oak in the midriff, in his guts,
in his belly. Yeah.
In his belly. And the ref said you had no intention of cleaning him out. You just hit him with the shoulder. Mind blown. How? I've never heard of that rule in my life. Where else are you supposed to?
I love a rule where it's like, okay, so just because you did something so legal, yeah, you might have gone to maybe hurt him a bit, because it was nasty. When I saw it on Fast Pace, I was like, that was nasty. I hope he wasn't stupid and went in on his head. But it's on the body. It's like a hard tackle. You sign up for rugby. It's a tough sport. Yeah. Have you seen the rucks from like the videos of 1980, where the people just like fly in, think they Superman, and just like bulldoze over each other? There's no... It's just pure chaos. I don't know what that ref was smoking, but he has to get off it immediately. Listen, we've said it a couple of times on the podcast. It's a tough sport, okay? These guys, they get injured. I understand dirty play. Like we saw, who was that guy? Was it something Darcy, whatever, from Australia that took off the New Zealand player's knee? I can't remember the name.
Can't remember his name either.
Exactly. Or when someone jumps into your head, look at the doggo, someone jumps into your face with their head or whatever, that's dirty play. But I mean, when it comes to a hard tackle or a good clean out, what is going on, refs? It's a tough game.
Blows my mind. Also, I think that some of the head contact rules and high tackles are getting a bit too extreme. I think that if a player's dipping down, yes, there's mitigation, and they only give him a yellow card instead of a red card. For me, that's not even a penalty. You are willingly, in your mind, going down. So that player, his objective is to go low so he can tackle you. But if you're going to go down as low as he is, and he makes contact with your head, that's on you. That shouldn't be penalized.
Even if you disagree with Brett on that one, which I don't, okay, as I've said, but even if you did, it's not, you can't double penalize them. Like, you're already getting the penalty for it. but now you're giving the penalty and the yellow, and then maybe a red as well. Like, it's never deserving of being carded as well, because then it's just like a double punishment for something that wasn't meant. Like they're saying, listen, it's actually red card level, but then mitigation. That is
Yeah.
kind of the way they explain everything, accident or not. Well, it should actually be penalty. Is it worthy of a yellow, and is it worthy of a red? Instead of
Yes.
immediately being a double punishment and then just being drawn back.
I agree.
Would you agree?
And I do have one more absurd thing in rugby that I now that you actually mentioned double penalty, it annoys me that if there's a maul, a 5 meter maul, and they're going and you collapse the maul, it's a penalty try. But then why is it a yellow card as well?
Yeah.
Why is it a penalty try and a yellow card? That's like that is the equivalent for me to a red card, because you are giving that team as much as advantage as you can. Because now the next penalty, they're just going to kick out again. Well, theoretically, they're going to kick out again because you were man down, because you got a yellow card. And then potentially have another yellow card and a penalty try. That just choose one, either or. Either
the whole reasoning behind that, if I'm not mistaken, is because it was a cynical foul. Like, usually you get a yellow card for a cynical foul, but then because the try would have been scored, it's like a cynical foul, so you get a yellow for that, and then the penalty. So it's not like a combined thing. It's more like the cynical foul, there's your yellow, but then because we would have scored, that's the try, instead of it being combined as one. But I do agree, it's double jeopardy. It's stupid.
Like it's keep it to the rule that they had at the standard of the Rugby World Cup when South Africa played Ireland and South Africa had a rolling maul. When Bundiaki came in and collapsed the whole maul from the side, and all of a sudden the ref calls the ball's out and then it's not out, and then they win the game. Keep it to that standard if you're going to have it at any standard, because clearly Bundiaki collapsed the maul, and nothing happened there. So let's leave it at that. Let nothing happen.
So, did you see the video running wild on Twitter? I think it was two Prem teams that played against each other, where the ball was about kicked 60 times in 2 minutes, with the players just standing in front, and then they're waiting for that team to run past 5 meters, and then they just attack.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this is a rule, but now that I know it, I want it changed immediately. Those players need to be played onside by someone running from the back. Like, I had no issues with what was going on until I saw that video. Those players need to be played onside. A guy catching the ball and running forward 5 meters is not playing that man onside. Because if you kick the ball from the 22, let's say Frans Steyn has the ball and he's standing on his own 22, and we just say, listen, Peter Steff, you stand on their 22, I'll boot it over your head, they'll catch it, and they'll run 5 meters forward, and you can tackle him there. Yes. What? That could change the game since they did that, and that is horrible. I don't want to see that at all.
Oh, that's classic. Okay, so the rule is it's within 10-yard rule. So you're the one the example you just gave of Peter Steff is a bit too extreme, and he will be penalized for offside, but it's within 10 yards of said kicker. So there's a 10-yard rule. But I do see what point you're making, and it's very valid, but eventually it'll come to that where people will tell them to stand within the 10 yards and just do the quick tunk, kick, get back, go, tackle.
Yeah. Well, the forwards love it because they don't need to run up and down the field. But, I mean, seriously, that is stupid. And then the final rule that I just want to bring up to you, and I hope you agree with this one, a penalty advantage, especially when it's like 5 meters away, you can't keep the penalty advantage for about 20 phases. Like, penalty advantages, they have to either put a phase limit on it or a meters gain limit on it, because you see a line break, but it's still penalty advantage. You see the ref taking it back about 30 meters after 5-6 phases, and then just giving them the penalty again. Like, you should have a couple of phases where you can just go for it then. But then after that, like,
so
because
you
the team
think-
has the option to say, listen, no, we want the penalty, or we can play for 2 or 3 phases. Let's say quickly like that. So the captain or the scrum half can call, we'll take the penalty while the game is still on. I mean, you can still scream on the field, or they can play the advantage for 2, 3 phases, and then it's done. See what you can do from it.
Yeah, so it used to be 4 phases or 10 meters gained. Then they took it away because some teams would get 4 phases, but they would gain 0 meters in yards. So there's no advantage for them. But this, I massively agree with you. I want go back to the 10-meter rule. Like, if they've gained at least 10 meters, then yes. But in the tram line, the red zone, which is approaching the try line, I think give them 4 rucks. If they've exceeded 4 rucks, then that's advantage over. You've had your chance. Either go for a drop goal or go score a try, because you're just wasting everybody's time. So that was a very well spotted. That's a good one. I think that's your best one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous when you see, let's say the box play against New Zealand. It's a tight game. They are 5 meters out from our line. Of course, you'll get an offside or hands in the ruck because our guys are desperate. But then they just keep ruck balling, and it's like there's no point in almost trying to defend it, because they anyway gonna kick a goal and get the 3 points, and it just doesn't fall away. It just I saw it the other day when I think it was in the URC when there was so many phases, the ref just finally called, okay, advantage over. But I think that was after like 12 phases. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's almost blasphemy.
100% agree. Yeah. So, wow, an episode full of agreements. But I want to know from, besides you and me, you and I think that Brevin could have also added a few points. But in the comments, this has to be the most commented video on our podcast so far, because I can guarantee you somebody's going to say that, or somebody's going to try and give us their rule definitions or what should fall away and should be added. And I really would like to see that, because when I become CEO of World Rugby, which I will, because I have goals, I will take these comments into consideration.
Yeah, I had a friend that had an interesting one. I didn't like it at all, but I want to know what the people would think. You don't need to put your input for this one, Brett. But he said he doesn't like scrums, but he wants it to be like almost a set play. So scrums, but uncontested scrums. And I was like, that is stupid. But okay. Just because like certain teams have a massive advantage of it above other, but then it's like, well, other teams have advantage at lineout. Some teams have an advantage at pace or physicality, whatever. But yeah, anyway,
other teams don't.
Thank you everyone for watching. We love you. Thank you for liking and subscribing and following us through this wonderful journey. This is episode 26, by the way. So we've done 26 episodes with you guys. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. As Brett said, please leave your comments down below. Make it one of the most engaged comment sections ever. Brett, you can take us away, seeing that you wanted to say something else.
Yes, I just wanted to say one more thing. If in the comment section as well, I want you guys to tell us who you would like to see us interview next. Okay, bye.
Yeah. And then also we're on Spotify, so go listen to us on Spotify. Thank you very much. Sayonara.